Hi my lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. I just want to, first of all, before we get into today's topic, I just wanted to say thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you for joining my online family. And another thing that I wanted to touch on is that yes, I haven't been posting for quite some time. As we know, this year has been very difficult for a lot of us, and unfortunately I have been going through some personal things and I had to put on a little bit of a stop, but I will try and be better at posting a video every week. Now that I'm finally settled and things have kind of calmed down. Yeah, so I've got my cup of tea ready. I hope you guys do too, and let's jump into it. So today I want to talk about Aileen Wuornos. Years ago, I watched the movie Monster with Charlize Theron. My God, she's an amazing actress. I can only say amazing things because she portrayed that role so very well. A lot of reading on Aileen Wuornos, and she intrigued me a lot. And the reason is because normally when we talk about serial killers, a lot of them have psychopathic tendencies since they were little. Basically, they were born to be serial killers or sociopaths, and one thing to another, their environment and all those things shape them to do unspeakable things. With Aileen though, I feel like when I was reading, it was more about her entirely about her environment, and I feel like she was like a byproduct. I mean, she was born into chaos. From the moment of her conception, it was just chaos. And I feel like there was a lot of stuff that perhaps all of that anger and everything she had kind of exploded into what happened next. So that is why I wanted her to be my first serial killer cover. Sorry. Haven't done this in a couple of weeks. So yeah, so like I said, she grew up in chaos. I mean, she never met her father. He was actually in prison when she was born, and he was also diagnosed with schizophrenia. I mean, he was in there in prison, and rightly so, for crimes against children. And when he was there, he actually committed suicide, so she never met him. And her mother was a very unstable person, and unfortunately she couldn't keep her children, so she actually abandoned her kids. She couldn't deal with them, so she flicked them off to her parents. So at the age of 4, Aileen was living with her maternal grandfather and grandmother. And you would think maybe there would be a better choice for Aileen, but this was not the case. Grandfather was an alcoholic, grandmother was an alcoholic, and basically her life, you can just start picturing what's going on. Very chaotic, very toxic, and she was only 4 years old. 4 years old. So as time moved on, at the age of 11, she already started to engage in sexual acts for exchange of things like food, alcohol, cigarettes, all those things. So she was already engaging in sex. She was already, whether she knew it or not, she was already engaging in some prostitution there. At the age of 11, guys, she was a baby. And it's also reported that she actually engaged in sexual activities with her brother. So before she's only lived a really short while, and we need to think about how or where can an 11-year-old be thinking about sexual favors because she's a kid. So believe it, guys, but she was actually getting abused by her grandfather. And Aileen actually talked about basically how he abused her physically, sexually, mentally, and that when he was beating her up, he would make her undress. I mean, that already is, your brain would shut down, right? And you would go into like survival mode because you wouldn't know where to go from there. So you would block things to be able to survive. And at 14 years old, she fell pregnant because from one of her grandfather's friends. So this guy was he was the monster in Eileen's life. And because at that time, when she got pregnant, they sent her to a mother home, like for unwanted mothers. A lot of young girls were sent there to give birth. And she placed her baby for adoption because she couldn't keep the baby, for obvious reasons. And in around this time, after she gave birth and all those things, her grandmother actually died. I think it was from liver failure or something like that, that she died. And she moved out. Her grandfather, kicked her out. She moved out and she dropped out of high school. So where would you live at the age of 14 if you don't have anything, if you're homeless, you don't have a family, you have never experienced any kind of love or met somebody that doesn't really care for you? Well, guys, she went to live in the bush. She was living over there in the forest. So she's 14 years old, homeless. What is she going to do? What is the one thing she knows in this world? She knows that how to get things. Sexual favors, engaging in prostitution. That's how she survived at this time of her life. And she was always already engaging in criminal activity, even if it was petty. She was already engaging in all of those things. So she was a very, very troubled human being. And actually, around the age of 18, she was in and out of state prison, because she was doing criminal things, like from owning a gun to driving under the influence, which is very, very serious. So as time went on, at the age of 20, she was hitchhiking to go to Florida. And there in Florida, she met a man, a 69-year-old man, guys. I mean, what 69-year-old marries a 20-year-old for? But he married her really, really quickly. They met, they were infatuated with each other, and he was actually high class person. So he actually belonged to a yacht club, and he was basically a socialite. What? Oh my God, socialite? I don't even know how to say that. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But yes, he was basically very up there. But obviously the marriage didn't last long. Aileen was still going through her criminal things. She couldn't give up that life. We don't know what her life was with him, Fel, but basically their marriage didn't last long. It must have been toxic because she beat him up. She hurt him with his own cane. So he was just walking around and she whacked him and hurt him. And he fell down somewhere, and then he actually ended up putting a restraining order on Aileen because he couldn't handle being with her anymore, and they actually filed for divorce. And within a few weeks of marriage, and she moved to Michigan, and she was arrested for assault there again. So, and again, she has just been chaotic, bouncing from place to place, not being able to find a home, and then later on her brother dies. So probably one of the only people she actually had some form of connection, her own sibling, and he died. And he did leave her an inheritance for $10,000, I think it was, but she blew it. She never had money. I mean, she was living in the bush, for Christ's sake, for a while. So she just paid a fine for $105, and then just kept buying luxury items like a car and God knows, other things, because she felt like she probably deserved it because she didn't have anything nice before. So that's normally what happens to people when they never have money It just disappears because they don't know how to handle that money. And then her life it was going. This is when she met her around 1986. She met her new girlfriend, okay, and her name was Tyra Moore. So she was a hotel maid. She made her living by doing cleaning jobs and so on. And they met and they fell in love, or Aileen fell in love with her. And perhaps because Moore was the one person that was giving her love and affection, that she basically just fell over heels for this woman. To the point that their relationship became very, very toxic. I mean, they moved in together really quickly, and Aileen was supporting Moore in herself, again, prostitution. So she was, while Tyra mocked, and they actually got into a lifestyle of stealing, of petty crimes and little things like that to survive. And they just couldn't function because they were obviously two very troubled people, and Aileen was attaching herself to her because she didn't have any love. She didn't know what love was or what a healthy relationship looked like. So I don't know whether it was the toxic relationship or what it was, or whether it was around this time that a lot of anger just kind of exploded in Aileen. And this is where she actually started to kill people. This is where it goes to the point that she's had enough. She feels like everybody's done her wrong. I mean, she was the type of person that would have encounters with people driving, so she never knew who she was getting into. And perhaps she had a really bad encounter, and she just snapped. And she started killing people. And to her grave, she said that she was killing in self-defense. And maybe she did the first time or something like that, but in her mind she started to believe that all of these men deserved it, and that she was getting attacked because she couldn't tell the difference anymore. If someone disagrees with you, it doesn't mean that they automatically are attacking you. But I think that was gone. Like, she was demented by this time, and she actually killed 7 men, if not, we don't know, it could be more than 7, but in the space of 12 months. So while she was killing men and things like that, they were obviously stealing the money. She was taking their money and using the cars and all that stuff. And it wasn't until 1989 in mid-December that a body was found, and the body of Richard Melroy. And his body was actually found in a junkyard. So in the subsequent months, they started to find more bodies. They ended up finding 5 more bodies of different men that were buried in the junkyard. So guys, it was at this point that the police were starting to get really panicked, because they knew that if they didn't find who was doing this, and if they didn't pinpoint it to someone, it would continue. It would clearly continue. And Aileen was really smart in a way. She was trying to protect herself, and she used a lot of false names. However, because her and her girlfriend were living and profiting out of the stolen goods that they took from the victims, they left evidence. They were clumsy. It wasn't completely clean. So what happened? The police were able to track them down, because in one of the victims' crashed vehicles, they found a palm print of Moore. And they tracked Aileen in a bar in Florida and arrested her there. And the police were like, okay, we need to track the other person, right? We need to track this person down and put a stop to it. And this is where things go a bit more bad for Aileen, because let's face it, her girlfriend kind of chucked her under the bus and basically denied all responsibility. She washed her hands and said that that Aileen was the one that was responsible for everything. She even told police that when she found out that Aileen had killed one person, that she told Aileen, "Can you please stop? I don't like it. I don't want you to keep killing people." And yet she was happy to live off the cash. Just doesn't make sense, guys. Doesn't make sense. But anyway, she managed to get a confession out of Aileen. She called her and managed to get it out. So Aileen took all the responsibility. I don't know whether you would call it manipulation from Moore's side, or that Aileen was so in love with her because she didn't know anything else. So this was the first person that showed her love, that Aileen wanted to protect her. So she took all the blame on herself. And what happened to Aileen? She was sentenced on the 27th, on Jan 27th, 1992. And she was charged with first-degree murder, and they gave her the death penalty. She sat on death row for 10 years. That's 10 years, guys. And I think by that time, her mind would have just gone. I don't think she was there anymore mentally. And she was executed on October 9th, 2002. She had some really interesting last words. Very chilling, I must say. "I'd just like to say I'm sailing with the rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th. Like the movie, big mothership and all, I'll be back." Whew, chills. So what do we take from this? What can we take from all of this? Well, I truly believe that she was a byproduct of her environment. I don't think she was born to kill. I think that the environment that she was born into, all that rage and that anger bubbled up inside like in a pressure cooker and exploded. I think that Aileen was so gone mentally, she was just not there, that she truly believed in her mind that she was killing in self-defense. At this point, I don't think she was able to separate between a disagreement and an attack. I think that she just lost it. And basically with everything, I mean, that life is hard as it is. I mean, prostitution is not an easy way to live by. And she didn't have a security guard or anything like that. She was living with she was basically picking up people from the road, strangers she didn't know. She was only there to protect herself. And encounters, I'm sure not every man was kind to her. I'm sure she had many men that were abusive to her. So by the time that it got to that point, I think she probably had one bad experience, another bad experience, and she just spiraled out of there. It was the last straw. This woman didn't have any love from the beginning. She didn't know what a normal relationship was. She didn't know love. Like I said, not even her own mother loved her. So she had a lot of issues from the very beginning. That's just heartbreaking, because as society, we can turn a baby like that and turning it into someone that just kills cold blood. That's it from me today, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts. Was she a byproduct of her environment, or was she born to kill? Let me know in the comment section below. And just before I go, I want to say thank you guys to my new subscribers. Thank you for joining the family. If you would like to join me, to join my online family, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.